This is Mrs. Galen Tutnick, and I will be your student's guide to the wonderful and life-changing world of music through music appreciation, which meets first semester during first period, and the history of rock and roll, which meets during first period of the second semester. This is my 36th year of teaching, and it was in an exploratory 9-week course during my 7th grade year growing up in rural Nebraska that I discovered my passion for music. I started formal studies in 4th grade on the drums, learned to play the brass instruments during high school, and woodwinds and strings in college. During college, in my weekly voice lessons, I had a teacher who exposed me to opera. Because of my love for that art form, I got a master's degree in vocal performance from ASU in 1997 and sang with Arizona Opera for 6 years. This is my 26th year at Saguaro, and I consider it my home away from home. It is my hope to share my love of music with your children in the hopes of enriching their lives and breadth of knowledge. This year, I will be teaching your students about the instruments and voices that produce music, but also about great musicians throughout history. We will begin with ancient music like that of composer from Spain, Tomás de Victoria, and go through the giants of the Baroque, classical, and Romantic periods with composers such as Johann Sebastian Bach, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Ludwig van Beethoven. We will look at figures and musical forms of the 20th century, like Leonard Bernstein, the first American conductor, Scott Joplin, the inventor of ragtime, and Duke Ellington and Count Basie of the swing era. Music appreciation concludes with a unit on musical theater, which such composers as Lin-Manuel Miranda, the writer of hit shows In the Heights and Hamilton. In the History of Rock and Roll course, we start with the blues and great artists like Muddy Waters who create a foundation in the art form. We then go through units on music from the 1950s, featuring pioneering performers such as Little Richard and Chuck Berry, and the man who personified rock and roll, Elvis Presley. There are 2 separate units on the music of the 1960s because it was such a fertile time period for rock and roll music. We will learn about the British invasion bands led by the Beatles, and America's response with surf rock and Motown, exemplified by groups like the Temptations. The History of Rock class concludes with the unit on hard rock and heavy metal with groups like AC/DC and Metallica. All of my class materials will be accessed through Google Classroom, the code for which is CLABRIC, C-L-A-B-R-I-C in lowercase. For each unit, the students will have a Check for Understanding assignment that corresponds with the slides we will cover in class. This assignment needs to be completed and used to study for the exams at the end of each unit of study. There will be 2 portions of each exam. The oral or listening portion will require students to identify pieces of music and the composers or performances that we have gone over in class. Students will be sent a YouTube playlist to study for this portion of the exam. There will also be a written part of the exam that will be administered through Google Classroom. Our exams will be on Tuesdays throughout the online learning period. We will be using Zoom for our synchronous classes, which are the in-person online classes on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7:45 to 8:45 a.m. and on Fridays from 7:45 to 8:20 a.m. So it should be a great way to start their day. We will have a few additional assignments to enrich the students' knowledge and understanding of music that can be done on the asynchronous days and will also be found in Google Classroom. For copies of my syllabus or to see what assignments are due, please refer to my Google Classroom page. To check your student's grade, you must go on to Synergy. I look forward to sharing my passion for music with your students, and I would encourage you to ask them about what we are learning in class around the dinner table, as it generally tends to foster great conversations according to former students and parents. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me at gtutnick@susd.org. Until we can meet in person, stay well.